think we're live now.
Yeah, we go live. It's saying a premium account on Twitter is needed. But anyway, forget Twitter.
Premium account to go live.
A premium account? We need to go live on Twitter. All right, so we announced it on Twitter.
$7, man.
He wants his $7. That's right. My God. All right, everybody. This is, you can tell we're a little bit informal here. It's been a long week here at Tier 11. John Moran, glad you could make it. Yet another Friday live, or just Tier 11 live that just so happens to be on a Friday.
Yep.
Yeah, we've got a lot of cool stuff we're going to be talking about here today. And obviously we've got opportunity to answer some questions. This is going to be sort of a continuation of what we talked about last week.
Well, I was called out by you last week. Next week,
that's right.
We're going to see if your changes worked. And this is really not a testament to how good John is. It's more of was Wicked right? Chris, I'm looking at you because like if it works well, it was me. If it didn't work well, it's you. So I'm hoping it goes well.
Well, I guess we'll find out. That's what lives are all about. Like sometimes they don't work out perfectly, sometimes they do. But yeah, so today we're going to have part 2. Last week we talked about I keep wanting to say I'll leave links in the show notes because I do a podcast on the other my other life, but there's no show notes here on a live. Last week we talked about a particular account, but and we were looking inside Wicked Reports, which we obviously really like as far as, tracking a lot of the metrics that you and I feel are super important. Something that we call marketing performance indicators. Yep. And there's 15 of them. There's lots of them, but the 15 that we think that are the most important, you can get over at tier11.com/MPI. M as in Mary, P as in Peter, I as in I don't know.
I don't know. Go look. It's
also
on our YouTube channel.
It's also on our YouTube channel. You can get it there too. But Wicked Reports shows a lot of this sort of stuff, and which is one of the reasons why we like it so much. But these are metrics that a lot of folks don't really look at because they're so caught up. And I know, that I know, we've said this many times, so many folks who are in marketing, whether they're media buyers, whether they're VPs of marketing, whether they're CEOs, are so caught up in in-app metrics, and particularly ROAS, return on ad spend, or ROI, is what we used to call it, return on ad spend. And that can be manipulated. And a lot of these third-party attribution tools have these types of metrics, which give you a deeper insight into what's actually really working. And at the end of the day, doing marketing isn't just pulling a rabbit out of a hat and saying, hey, look at my great metrics. It's actually about producing profitable growth.
Right.
And that's the whole goal. And so obviously we work together now at Tier 11. You and I obviously see eye to eye on that. Not a lot of agencies get it as of yet. So the purpose of this show here is to help you as the marketer get it, or you as the CEO, VP of marketing, get your team to get it. And obviously, if you need our help, we're always here for you. So anyway, so part 2 of what we talked about last week. Care to give a little bit of a summary for folks who didn't watch last week, and shame on you if you didn't, because you need to be here every Friday. But tell the folks a little bit about like a backstory of what we're going to be talking about here today.
Yeah. So what we looked at last week is we used Wicked Reports to dive into a meta account of a company. And we were looking at a few different things. One, we're comparing the Wicked Report metrics to the Meta Report metrics. And Meta was showing that sometimes when you have a better NCAC in Wicked, you actually have a worse ROAS in Meta, which is actually pretty much always going to be the case when you're looking at where do they start and where do they end. We want to put more ad spend on where they started. Meta is going to show more often the areas that have the best amount of ROAS where they ended. So you can kind of, get a full picture of things. But if you're measuring by ROAS, or if you're using automated bidding, if you're not generating demand by using more awareness campaigns, re-engagement campaigns, or marketing campaigns, if you're not trying to move the needle in an industry, you kind of just say, well, did that ad find enough good people this week? No or yes, and now I don't really know what to do with it. So what we did is we built out a more like a full funnel strategy inside of Meta to attract, engage, educate, and convert users. And we're using Wicked reports in order to identify what ads are working and what ads are not, what campaigns are driving the most amount of high quality, valuable traffic, and what campaigns are doing more remarketing, or what campaigns are having a point of diminishing returns or have too much ad spend. And last week we made a big series of changes. And this week is going to be, was John right? That's what we're gonna do. What's nice about doing these live and screen share is it's not like I took a one-off use case of like something that ran a sale and like, look how good I am. Like, this is actually like the hard shit, and this is what what you are all here to kind of watch us do. Be amazed. I'll sign autographs, whatever you want, or learn yourself and make yourself a better marketer, which is hope of what you're doing while you're being here and getting the most out of it. So we're going to drum roll in your brain, everyone here. So here's the dates.
It's what I love about lives is that we are doing it actually live.
Right.
And I believe we're got to add you to stay. There you go. See, look at this. We're doing this without our producer this week. So I'm the producer, actually.
Oh, man.
I get paid extra to do this. I think with every other case study digital marketer that I've ever seen, they always show some kind of insanely great result. But they don't tell you how they kind of got there. And you can show insanely great results inside the app. Mm-hmm. It's very easy to do that. But what we're talking about here, this is actually how the sausage is made. And this is in part of the process of getting to the amazing result. And the amazing result at the end of the day is profitable growth. So take it away.
So you're all seeing this kind of, first day that I am. So for proof, this is the 2nd through the 8th. So last Friday to yesterday. And this is compared to the previous period. So what you're kind of seeing is this is the day that we last met. This is what has happened now. And then compared to exactly the previous period. So 8.2 to 8.8 compared to the last 7 days, which is 7.26 to 8.1. All agree that this is not, I'll hit apply filter so you can see that nothing changes here. This is already there.
Nothing up my sleeve.
Exactly. No rented Ferraris here.
Don't get me started. Or rented mansions.
Right.
Yeah.
No books I never read. So here's 1% increase in cost. All right. Our leads, which is basically just like form fills for people that are signed up for like newsletters, it went up 24%.
Yep.
Our cost per lead went down 21. Our sales have gone up 23%. Our customers have gone up 23%. Our NCAC has dropped 18.4%. Our blended metrics have gone up 12.8%, and our clicks went up 22%. And all of these here are all of your kind of top leading indicators and performers of your business compared to what we spent, which was the same. 1% change in cost, 23% more new customers. And you'll see that there's actually a difference here. This is not 23% new customers, so 23% better NCAC. We did attract a few returning customers. We weren't trying, but that's okay. Those happen. It's fine. This is our North Star metric is a cost for acquiring our first time customer going down. And that's what we want to see. Now, let's dive into the little bit as to reasons why. So what we'll notice is these are all of the campaign kind of metrics, and this is all of the meta metrics. And then there's some additional campaign metrics over here on the side. And what we were attempting to do is we wanted to clean up the ad copy, or sorry, not clean up the ad copy. We wanted to remove the ads that were not performing. They had like some 500, some 600, some $1,200 NCAC ads that were running. And we said, hey, these are obviously, when we compare the first click to last click, ads that are getting a high, decent amount of exposure, but are not effective. So when we look at the metrics here, we see the costs are all the kind of the same. You see the new visits starting to increase because our ECPNVs have dropped, because our CPMs have dropped, because we're using better ads. And we'll see a NCAC that actually went down, and a little bit higher. So this one wasn't as favorable in NCAC. This one kind of technically did fail a bit. We had more visits. We had the same amount of cost. We had a cheaper conversion, but the conversion rate stayed the same. So no movement to a slightly worse to better. Now we can kind of see, okay, where did we make the right decisions? Did we make the wrong decisions? And then when we're going to kind of go into a little bit more of a in-depth, What we can kind of see in like this one here is one of the ones that we were looking at last week. You called that person out by name, by the way. That was what was fun.
Nobody watches these things.
Right.
Yeah.
Hopefully they don't ever see this. But in this one ad, this is an ad set here with a group of ads. So what was nice about this is our ECPNV globally went down and our costs went down here. These are the ones we paused, and our costs went here, cost increase here because these are the ones that we left on. So I don't have obviously where they used to be bad this last week. Like this used to say like 600 and now it's at 0 because we just now reduce a whole bunch of spend on it. It's no longer attributing anything. Right. But what you can see is that for the 3 that are on compared to the 4 that we're shutting off or removing or pausing, it did have a top line global effect of 38% less NCAC and 44.1% more cost. But our new visits did increase on these people, and our cost per effective new customer or cost per effective new visit did decrease. So all of this is like really, really, really crazy shit. But long story short, all we did is remove the bad and put more of the good cold traffic onto the better ads. It's simple.
Yeah.
Very, very, very simplistic. I have to apologize, everyone out there in YouTube land. My dog is yelping at my door, and if I don't let him out, we're going to have a bigger issue on our hands. So give me one quick second just to let him out.
So just to explain, like a lot of these metrics you may or may not be familiar with. So ECPNV is effective cost per new visit. It's a leading indicator, really, as to whether or not your cost per new visit to your website is going up or going down. And it does not necessarily relate to NCAC, but it's a good leading indicator to tell you how many people are actually brand new, how much cold traffic are you bringing in? Because retargeting is easy. Like, I guess we can just agree on that fact. Like retargeting people who already know who you are and selling them again, that's easy. Mm-hmm. Any damn digital, I mean, you know, my dog could do that. And I don't even own a dog. But finding cold traffic customers who have no idea who you are and bringing them into your world, ECPNV, which is one of the 15 metrics, by the way, that we give away in our giveaway, to explain a little bit further, is a helpful indicator. And I think you're the only person that I know on the planet that uses that. Am I explaining that correctly?
Yeah. And what's nice is when you see this coming here, the ECPNV, this is like dropping CPCs. It really is, because everyone thinks, oh, I got to click, it must be new. When that's where everyone immediately fails.
Yeah.
Now, if you say, I got to click, the next thing you should ask is, was it new or returning? Then you should ask, is there more of one or the other? Then you should ask, is the rate of the better one increasing? Then you should ask, what is that costing me? So
right.
that's the difference between CPC and ECPNV. That looks like this in practice. Good. I have a cheaper new visit. Now, am I getting more clicks? Yes.
Yeah.
Now, what is the difference between the new and returning clicks? This here, 860 versus 660. This is 860 total, 660 new. 1,000 total, 763 new. 6,300, 5,100 new. Good. We're at about 80-ish% cold.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. Now, what was my next question? Well, after I know my ECPNV, are my clicks rising? What's the split? My next question was, am I getting more of better? Yes, I get 87 more clicks, 98% increase at the rate of new. Okay, 50% more clicks, 53% increase of the rate of new. And then 47% more clicks, but 63% more clicks of new. Good. So my rate of new versus returning is increasing as the total amalgamation rises. What does that mean? This can scale.
Right.
Good. Now we're looking at, okay, now we actually have good quality traffic, more new than returning, a good amount of split of new versus returning. And if I optimize for ad copy, that gives me cheaper CPMs. What is the end result? Same cost, dropping NCAC by 18%.
And that's in 1 week.
Beautiful. That's in 1 week.
These are not 5,000%, like I guess 5,000 wouldn't really make sense, but 97% decrease in NCAC. We're talking about a week progress. We're talking about you're spending $38K in a week, if I'm reading this accurately. Like, that's a pretty large improvement.
Yeah.
18%. It's gradual. Like, you're not doing this overnight, but you're doing it in phases and stages methodically. And this is how you scale a business. You do it by looking at these sorts of things.
Well, you know what's funny too is if you ask any good business owner what the profit margin is, that could have been that right there.
Could have been.
You're like, oh, I have a 20% profit margin. I'm like, ta-da, you doubled.
Yeah, you just doubled it. Right. Right.
Yeah. And if I do that if I can do that twice in 3 months, your business is now 50% more efficient.
Right. Now, let me throw a wrench in the gears here. Is like the effective cost per new visit, but also new visits. That could be mistaken as like if you're looking at in isolation, it could be bot traffic. If your traffic is bad traffic, potentially, okay, but like you're using that as a part of a whole, as an ecosystem alongside.
Every one of these relates to each other. Yeah.
Right.
Because then if it was bot traffic, my NCAC would increase.
Right. Okay.
Yep. I love this stuff. This is like, oh, it's so good. And
so,
if I was actually getting worse returning revenue, my new revenue metrics wouldn't be going up.
Right.
Yep.
Absolutely. So, I mean, I'm sort of stating the obvious, but like there is good and bad traffic for sure.
100%.
I mean, if you did Performance Max for this, this is
I've seen Performance Max down to 5% cold.
Oh man!
Oh my god! Oh, something cool. Here is my what is it called? My imposter syndrome is kicking in right here. This part right here, just for example, is 726 to 81, 193 new customers, and then last 7 days here, 244. So 193, 244. I wanted to use a global source of truth that wasn't third party to say, yep, we're actually also seeing this here on the back end as well. So just as a one last final sole source of truth, because this people say, well, that's attribution. This is indicative of why my new customers are actually rising. So that's why I just wanted to kind of clear the air in case people are like, yeah, but cool magic trick. That was the back end of Shopify.
Yeah, that's the back end of Shopify. And we're gonna have to blur out those names post-production, Shintaro for that one, but that's okay. You guys saw it there. The point is that this is actually real. And one of the things that like this interface right here. So this is Wicked Reports, right? You've adjusted your columns quite a bit to include. It's been a week or so since I last logged into Wicked Reports. So these are not default. You have to pull these out, or these now default inside Wicked. I don't want to turn this into a Wicked commercial, but the point is, like, Scott would love me to, but I'm sure.
I'm going to be Scott here for a moment. Well, thanks, Ralph. I'm glad you asked. All of the columns that you see here magically appear and fly out of my ass right onto your screen in real time. I actually didn't change much. It was pretty close to that. It just kind of appeared. I think I readjusted them a little bit so it's easier to display, but these all kind of defaulted right as soon as I popped it open. This is great.
Yeah, they know it's you logging in. Scott's probably logging in the background, like monitoring your every move. The point is like
once in a while it just says like you're beautiful on the page. I think that's just for me though.
Yeah, I think that is just for you. He does love you. Scott is the owner of Wicked Reports, who we're obviously very friendly with. So marketing performance indicators, once again, you can get that over at tier11.com/MPI. We're not selling you anything there. It's just like, this is just more of an explanation of what we're talking about here. So make sure that you do grab that. The key with this is double checking with the source of truth.
Yes.
Right? Like, this is all great. How different does this look inside the Facebook ad platform?
Well, you know what's funny is when you say something like, how much different does this look? Facebook will only give you attribution. It will not give us everything else about it. And that's what I'm thinking is important is I know that I got a cost per click and I know I got like clicks, like the outbound click, but out of 5,000, I'm like, okay, well, what happened to the 5,000? We actually track a little bit more than they do. And we can tell you how cold or warm that is in here. So I'm like, okay, if my clicks went up, I do not want to see my clicks go up and my new visit rates go down. Like that is DEFCON 1. Like that is horrifying.
Yeah, that's bad news.
If you have a 20-day sales cycle, 3 weeks from now, you're punished for what you just did now. And that is so massively missed by the market is your sales cycle. If it's not 2 days long, you should never look at this every week. Really can't.
Yeah.
It's not baked data yet. If it takes 14 days to sell somebody and you like send out postcards and they just land on like day 2, you're like, where's all my money? Like, no,
Yeah.
it literally just landed. Give it time. You have to take that same consideration into it. But the leading indicators as to, did it land at the right house? Did they open their mailbox? Did they grab your pamphlet and look at it for the first time? That's all that's inside of Wicked that is not inside of Meta.
Yeah.
All of the stuff that's actually happening to say, hang tight, things will get better, or the reason why your ECPNV went down that actually drove more new visit, that drove your NCAC down, was because we took all of this and paused it, and we spiked this ad 50% and brought in 70% more new people. This ad went up 22%, brought in 36% more new people. And if these are the ads on my first click attribution, if these are the ads that will win, these two over here should have a better NCAC. They do. And the top line does. Great. Now these are the targets to beat. My creative team has to analyze these and say, why did this go good? And can you make 3 different variations to beat this so we could double down on this?
Right. That's the key. So you're giving insights into the creative team. I don't think you're a kind of guy that goes into, Adobe and starts doing like video editing and, image production. And that's for the creative team. And
if your company sells stick figure drawings, I can.
You can. Yeah, that's it. That's your forte. I don't even know the name of any of the tools that any of our designers actually use because I've never actually done it. I learned everything in marketing up into like video tools. The only thing I know how to use is like Canva. But the point is,
my creativity in my drawing it stopped when the thing that you had to lift over your head and shake like to redo it. That's where the last time I designed something was.
I actually saw a gallery of those, the Etch-a-Sketches. Yeah. And last time we were in New York, an entire wall in a coffee shop was all Etch-a-Sketches. It was actually, they were really good. So the point is like you can double check versus like my sort of stupid question is what does it look like in Facebook? You can actually see that inside Facebook, inside Wicked, and you can compare. Yeah. And like, all right, so let's compare in-app versus what you're seeing in the real world. Yeah. Maybe for folks, just because we constantly sort of rip on that, maybe not enough, but we will constantly rip on this. And this show is in-app ROAS is very misleading in so many different ways. And why that is, I guess, is sort of the big question, but also maybe just show folks why that is the case here.
So what's funny is the way that I learned these metrics when I didn't have tools like Wicked was using extrapolated benchmarks, and 80% of the time I was correct. So extrapolated benchmarks means I know that's not the right metric, but if it's consistent and if it moves in the right direction, then I'm happy. So you'll find that 80% of the time they're correct. Sometimes, they're a bit off, and you have to measure them differently per stage. So in my L1, which is my cold traffic, what we're looking at here is saying if I have something that says, okay, is bad ROAS and my NCAC is going up, that's good. A 20% decrease in ROAS may not be DEFCON 1 for you. An 85% increase in NCAC should be. So there's some, that's okay, but this is what is hurting us now. Like this right now is something that we tested further.
Yeah.
And it's not really working. Yeah. I don't care. I'm Switzerland over here. Great. Red is bad. Okay. Now, flip side to that though is sometimes you get things that go more wrong. So like this one says, hey, you stuck a large amount of cost increase into this one ad here.
Right.
And now this is one of our best, it is actually the best performing ad. And in terms of volume, 10 grand to $167 doesn't really count. But when you look at this one, it says, oh no, it's getting a bit worse because this is going to be kind of more split attribution.
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Exactly. But what we're actually saying is, no, I can spike up new visits at the same rate of cost because my effective cost per new visit has gone down. So I'm putting 16% in, getting 12% out, and at a higher efficiency. I don't care what that says, really. mean, like it's like, oh, it's getting a little bit worse. Like, no, it's actually literally the best performing ad. And I'm actually going to double down on this ad spend, which is different than what you see if ROAS goes down 2%. Your first initial thought is double the budget. If I see though my NCAC is going down with a 15% increase, I'm like, put 50% more, maybe double the budget, depending upon how much you're spending on it.
Right.
So those decisions that you're making is if it's ROAS or in-app based, you're relying solely on one singular source of truth that's kind of sometimes designed to do nothing but give you more or mislead you to spending more money. Now they'll try to reward you, but those 30% inefficiencies are all the reasons why I can't scale is because of that.
Now, I mean, in Meta's defense or Facebook's defense in this particular case, if you look at website purchases are up by 8% in app, but purchase ROAS is down. If anything, it looks fairly dismal at 0.41. Like the simple marketer, maybe the beginner marketer would just look at that in app and say, I got to shut that sucker off without knowing that that's actually feeding his family.
Yeah. Yeah. And, or even like bigger decisions where it's like, all right, this, we put more ad spend in here and it went a little bit better. But if I said, hey, you dropped your prospecting cost per acquired first time customer by 1/5. Okay. Like, yeah, that's a pretty big swing. 20% down in my main campaign that I spent more money into it. Perfect. Like it's definitely a leading indicator, but 8% of a ROAS of 0.39 is like death. But it's like, hey, this is actually dropping and you can spend more. That's life.
Yeah.
So those are affecting the decisions. I'm not sure if I should do anything. I can't scale. This one is like, oh man, hit the gas.
Yeah.
So those different ways that you kind of look at how much is it affecting, and are all the other 20 columns all showing better performance? New versus cold traffic is at a good ratio. Your rate of increase of cold traffic is better than your rate of return. Your ECPNV is dropping, so it's actually costing you less to scale. Your NCAC is also dropping because it's costing you less to get that new traffic, to less to sell the new customers. All of those things, it's like, yes. It's like a pre-flight checklist. Like, I have gas, my engine works, my flaps are working, I have a landing gear, there's my co-pilot here, let's take off. Like,
right.
By looking at like an in-app metric, you may only get to, yeah, it's kind of clear out today. Try it.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Hopefully the clouds don't come in, or the sun goes down.
Yeah. My flaps working? Yeah, it should be.
Can't see where I'm going. Can you show that screen just once again? There's a question that I have for you, which this has been something that I've debated with our team for years and years. I guess I have to add
I had
this.
to pause camera just because I'm having internet issues. So everyone out there in YouTube land, my apologies. I'm still here. I just got to kill it for a second.
John's just a white circle now. So let me ask you this. All right. So you're in a campaign inside Facebook. Okay. You're looking at wicked reports. You've got your source of truth. These are the real numbers. These are the actual numbers. You're inside a campaign, and then you're inside an ad set, one of your better performing ad sets. And the CAC goal, the NCAC goal for this customer, I believe, is under 250.
We want to be
correct.
Like, we would love to be under 200, but what you're not also seeing is we're actually having our best week every week this last like 4 weeks inside of Amazon. Okay. So that's where this is kind of like, I think it's like 120.
Okay.
But we want to get this like paid down to under 200 if we can, for everything to benefit from it.
Okay. Got it. All right. Which brings up another question that I have for you, but I'll hold off on that. So inside that campaign, inside that ad set, there are ads, right? This is how it works. But if you look at, I don't know if you have this as a column, the ads that are underperforming from an NCAC perspective. Okay, you've got one that's 240, one that's 260, a little high. You've got one 166, but it's only one sale, looks like. Yeah, but then you
pause that one.
You pause that one. Okay. Now, I don't know if you have this column being shown, but on the impressions side, what I always sort of think, this is something that we've always debated, is if you have 4 ads inside an ad set inside of Facebook, and your overall ad set is at your goal, don't touch any of the individual ads.
Right.
Even the ones that are underperforming.
That was my SOP for the longest time.
Okay.
And that was my SOP before Wicked. And I know this doesn't sound like a Wicked, but this is my SOP before I had these metrics over here. And this is something that I explained last week is your goals are going to depict how these ads are shown. A impression based campaign is going to be different than a conversion based campaign. That's going to be different than Advantage Plus based campaign. That's also going to be different than a cost cap campaign. Like those are 4 different ways that Meta is going to change the way that your ads are shown and the frequency as to which your ads are shown and how, I know it's frequency, but that means how often your ads are shown to a user. Because my methodology here is I'm using max conversions everywhere. So these have I want to get high frequency based on my ad spend, and I want all ads to show to everybody at once. So my then verification of that is this. If I look at the amount of NCAC that I have from between first click and last click, I can see first click 240. Not managed columns. First click 240. But if I do a full funnel, which is like they could have attributed a few clicks, my 240 goes to 190. Okay, so now 240 is down to 190. 240 is just my first click. So I want to see from my first click, what is at least getting engagement or what is Meta pushing first. That is what my ad spend is going to be directly correlated to, potentially. And that should be how this campaign is going to work. No cost cap, no Advantage Plus, manual placements, and max conversions, which means if it's underperforming, Meta does not care. It's still going to show it. So in this first round of getting our creative testing, I'm verifying that they aren't showing ad 1 and then showing ad 2 somewhere else that has a bad first click NCAC, which means this should go up if it was first shown, but then other things were getting clicks and then getting conversions. Because this went down because it's the same ad getting potentially multiple clicks or multiple frequencies until it is then getting a click or even multiple clicks. This is still like, yes, this ad is getting the first click or multiple clicks. That the comparison between those two gets better. If this went up, I got to see what else went bad first click and then better last click or better blended.
Okay.
So that's the methodology. And this is where I say this gets very, very, very specific because what I'm teaching you here, if you're using a cost cap or Advantage Plus, you can't do it. It's not going to operate the same way. But what I'm trying to do is find the best creative that I can spend, much more money on and get better performance until I max this out. And this is not going to be reduced until A, either this stops performing, or B, a better creative has surpassed these benchmarks metrics that you're seeing here.
Okay.
What I'm scale.
Got it. So you are really you're pruning as you go along because of the fact that you're very, very strict with your criteria. Do you recommend that for all marketers?
I recommend they understand it well enough to know what strategy to apply to what goal. My goal is make this as effective as possible and then hit the gas here.
Right.
So I'm trying to find out where I find consistency as effective as possible while also setting the stage, like you're seeing here, for this to then have more ad spend here so that these greens get more green.
Got it.
Now, what's cool about this is if I go through my mission control, or go back to funnel vision, actually, then let's do this. Full funnel, all, same thing. This is our total top line metrics. The ones that we were looking at for the other ones here were only for Facebook, but that's also like pretty much where our full channel is. Like you see 16,000 versus like pretty much nothing else in this mix here.
Right.
Now, when you go into the unattributeds, like we're not sure what has actually happened. We know that we have, when you go into the Facebook channel, we have a 234 NCAC.
Yeah.
First click, we have a 249 NCAC. See how that grew?
Yeah.
So we have first click is 249. Blended is giving me a 234. A last click here, a last click is giving me a 252. Perfect. So now this is doing first click and blended click, but it's not simply the last click. I'm not getting really cheap NCACs on last click. That's actually good. The reason why is to globally drop your NCAC, you need to have you need to have your overall actually increase. And this is where in that metrics, my camera's better. This is where it's really important to understand that even though meta may look good, how has it affected the business? We've already hopped in the back end of Shopify and proven that new customers are coming in for the same cost. Now, what about the global cost? Okay, so our global cost is 42,000 because there are other things that we spent on, things like Google brand, which has stupid, crazy, horrible NCACs, only 8.5% cold visits. It's brand.
Sure.
But so now we look at, okay, our customers, our NCAC is dropping down by 14.4%. Good. My global NCAC is below a 200. I want my first click meta to be below 200. So even different attribution models, depending upon what stage, what attribution levels that you're measuring. But I need to have it first click below that goal so that every single thing after that you lose into attribution and full funnel marketing, those all get better if my feeder engine is getting more efficient at first click, better ads to get better engagement on better cold traffic.
How did you figure out that first click NCAC for Facebook has to be 240, knowing full well that your goal is 200? How did you sort that out? I mean, it's like, is it a metric that you use? A 20% greater? Like, well, how do you sort of figure that one out?
Yes. So you use them as kind of like your benchmarks to your overall globals. We have a report that I can't share on screen just because it's kind of private information from about the company that I'm not privy to share.
Sure.
We have a full dashboard though about what is our year over year broken down by week comparisons. We want to scale by about 40% every year. We want to scale 20% over what we've been scaling, and we've had 100% growth for the last 4 years. So 100% growth for the last 4 years, and we want to be 20% more efficient than that. So what I have to do is find all of the areas of inefficiencies and remove all that so that compounding in the next 5 years, we've doubled upon our double, because 20% every year better than the last 5 years, we've doubled in compounding. So what we found is that so
the business has a goal.
Hey, look at that.
I just want to call that out. Like any businesses that are out there, like you have to have a goal.
Yeah.
Might help with your media buying, might help with your media strategy. Go ahead.
Yeah. You have to have a business goal, and it can't be like that campaign's got to hit a 3x ROAS. That is minuscule thinking. You have to have a top line business goal, and you have to track those trends. So we found the benchmark areas as to what those should say. And if they were this more efficient, then we would achieve our goal. And so we're using that as, 234 NCAC is not right. It's not when you count Amazon, and not when you count our subscription orders. Our continuity is continually growing. So we're actually increasing our MER just by pushing more cold traffic, and all we can measure is a 240 NCAC. Is that the actual NCAC? No. But if 240 goes down to 200, does our top line NCAC get better when you include things like Amazon and continuity? Yes. So that's what we're trying to achieve.
Now, in your master dashboard, we're going to get to the questions in just a second. Thank you for everybody for asking questions. Feel free to drop them in the comment section. We will be answering those in just a minute or two. In that sort of I don't know what to call it. It's like the master dashboard where you show, does it have a name? Like what Google, Facebook, email, everything else, TikTok, like inside Wicked. It's the screen that we always wanted that they finally delivered to us, right?
Yeah.
But I didn't
like this one here.
Yeah, I did not see Amazon in there.
No, we don't have Amazon hooked up to this one here. We actually have a whole separate. Yeah, we have a whole separate tool of that. One thing that I would say here. Let me stop screen share real quick because I'm going to go into the history of something.
So the Amazon numbers, like you're equating them back to this, because inside Wicked you can have a line for Amazon. Just in this one, you don't have it in there for whatever reason.
Yeah, we don't have it just because if we added that now, which is actually a really good point to bring up, if we added that now, it would skew everything we benchmarked.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, you're going to blend the metrics together and reset. So sometimes it's like, do we kind of even actually want to do that? Not really. So what man, this thing is branded everywhere at the top. We actually have.
You don't have to show it. It's all right.
I can't share, but we have it's actually just exported to Looker Report, and Looker Report tells me impressions, clicks, CTR, total sales, total orders. Like I know that what's nice is in August of 2024 so far we have $48,000 in sales, and we know that last month it was 155, so we're already pacing past it, which is good. So that's all I care about.
That's all you care about, because you look at that as gravy, really.
100%, and that's all the people that didn't buy our continuity, and our continuity is even better. And so when I'm looking at, actually, I can share this screen here. Yeah. This would be good. If I look at this here, for example, this would be fun. So this is year over year.
I have to ads to stage. I'm producer and host and spacing out on my producing. Go ahead.
There we go. So for the last 365 days compared to the previous 365, our recharge subscriptions went from 550,000 to 1.5 million. And that's, what's the NCAC of a person that has the staying power of 18 months? I'll pay $500 for those people.
Sure. Hell yeah.
But if I can make it 20% more efficient, we already gained $1 million this year in just recharge. So if we stop all marketing, we make $1 million a year.
Yeah.
Right. Like actually 1.5 million a year. Like that's where we're at right now. So a lot of things that work, a lot of goals you're looking to achieve, a lot of things that you have to measure. But if you're looking at in-app ROAS, oh man, you're just missing everything else.
You're missing out. Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, in a lot of cases, we'll have that Amazon line in there to give an overall, which does help. In your particular case, you're so focused on just the paid side. And curious on this particular customer, I can't remember if this is the case or not. Like all their Amazon sales are organic, or is there some paid on the Amazon side?
There's some paid. We usually 4 and 5X are paid. Our paid is heavily brand. And then we'll usually see a double of our sales that we bought. No, a tripling of the sales that we bought in brand in total sales. So it's kind of funny. It's like we'll have things where it's like spend 12, make 60, and then also make 180, like in total sales. So there's definitely and that's what we track year over year by month, because there is heavy seasonality.
Got it.
So.
And also, just for those who are either Amazon sellers or have products on Amazon, I've talked to business owners that don't realize this and don't factor this in to their NCAC, is Amazon actually does take a portion of your sale. So in this particular case, like at that type of volume, the 200 number is adjusted to factor that into the equation, or does Amazon is it not even looked at, because it's like it's your brand spend on Amazon is so little, you're going to get it no matter what, as long as your paid is working.
Right. As long as our paid is working, our brand spend inside of Amazon and the sales that happen on Amazon is like it's like running just a brand in Google. Like if it constantly gets more effective and more efficient, where you just need $5,000 more per that next year for that month, and you are able to put on $30,000 more on the books, that top of funnel awareness makes the bottom of the funnel so efficient that you can actually afford a higher first click CAC.
Got it.
And then when you know your company's goals as to how you're trying to achieve and grow, that NCAC is based off of kind of like this trend here. And I've just shared screen. If you want to enable that. So when you look at this here, so I joined them in October 2022, which is right here. They had 20% of all their sales were new, and 80% were all returning. When you focus on an NCAC, you know how much you can afford to buy, which means they will come back and sustain. So you have like a 10 MER here and a 10 MER here, but the 10 MER here is much more profitable.
I like that 10 MER better.
Right.
Yeah. That's awesome. All right. Well, let's get some questions here. We're about 14 minutes in. Hang on. How do I actually do this here? I'm going to figure this out, get rid of the banner, and then do something else. Comments. All right. Hunter has been patiently waiting. Cool. One of two here.
15 minutes. So yeah, I think there's actually two. There's actually three. He did two of twos.
Yeah. So we'll read it off here. So for lead gen clients trying to generate demand awareness on YouTube, what kind of campaign mix does John recommend? Google pushes full funnel, mix of video reach, video views, video action.
So if you're trying to generate demand and awareness, I prefer, this is counterintuitive to what most people would want to say. I would actually start with a conversion-based bidding. Conversion-based bidding, what that means is it's going to show your ad to the people who have showed intent, which I still think is the best way to target things like people have searched a certain keyword recently, or people who visit these type of websites. Go for an intent audience, do a max conversion, because you can scoop up the demand that is already there right now existing. And that will also kind of start the campaign off on the right foot to say, this is the ad copy that's working. These are the channels. These are the audiences. These are your demographics, your sex, or your location, your average income, your age, your house, or your location, all the other good stuff that you're going to be tracking. And then you can move to an awareness campaign. I actually do really like target frequency, because you can hit about a 4 or 5x frequency on a audience that you're trying to achieve. It's just not conversion-based bidding. So when it's like, okay, I know that when people are ready to buy, they interact with these type of messages. Now let's go blast that to the airways at 1/5 of the CPM. And then you can really scale it up, but you do have to measure your top line goal of what are you trying to achieve, and is your NCAC being better or worse after switching those strategies?
Got it.
Yep.
And when you talk about it, we had a couple of calls this week with prospective clients who were sort of reaching a saturation point, at least from their perspective, on Google, but don't do anything on YouTube. And one of their things was, all right, well, once you get the full funnel, once you get all the channels working together, then it's like paradise. But they said, all right, well, listen, we got to dial in our search first before we have, the money available in order to go to those other sort of people that are way, way, way top of funnel brand awareness. There's $500 million in TAM ready and available in search. I just want to grab more of that. So for cases like that, would you bring in YouTube? In order to you would. Okay, got it.
Here, what's interesting about this is I wouldn't bring it to such a crazy high level, but the best clients that I've scaled on direct response inbound search and shopping is when we have also been doing a lot of Meta and YouTube. And I can see this, and I can't share it on the screen. It's going through an acquisition. I cannot share it on screen. You have to trust me on this one. And I haven't lied to you guys.
I know who you're talking about.
I've been here. Yeah. Their non-brand shopping and non-brand search bring like 8 to 12% conversion rates first click because of who they are. So it's like if you Google best running shoe and you see like a brand new Nike that you already know everything about because you've been inundated with content, that's where you're going if you like it. But if you see a brand new company called Fikey, you're not even going to consider it.
That's what I wear.
Fikey's.
Come on, Fikey's on.
Fikey's jogging shoes. So that's a part where you have to look
Swedish.
at how much can I engage in a market that is going to help my middle or bottom of the funnel and not just be tacked on. And the way that you measure is when you start to do more brand awareness and more unique selling, unique value proposition from a brand perspective, you do see that your inbound becomes more efficient. And when it becomes more efficient, you can then spend there more because now there's more available audience that Google thinks is going to buy if you're using automated bidding because they've already seen your YouTube ad. That's the same tag.
Right. So with that particular customer, obviously there's some things that you can do on the search side of the equation. Obviously some John optimizations for sure. At what point do you kind of roll in that secondary strategy? We've talked about YouTube, and like TV ads. It's super, super cheap. And they say, oh, yeah, we tried social. We could never get anything like top of funnel work. But maybe they just like dumped a whole bunch of money in it. Didn't really test it. Like you gradually dip your toe in the water, or do you say, hey, I'm going to spend $50K this month and see how it goes, see what my lift is. I know my ROAS, like what I see probably inside Wicked Reports for my YouTube ain't going to look so good, but I'm all of a sudden seeing it at the bottom of the funnel over here. Like what would your strategy be there to combine those two?
So at that point, I would also look at, have we hit a point of diminishing returns inside of the platform itself? Like every dollar we put in, now we're getting nothing out. So scale it up to the point where you can just, you don't have to tack on additional ad spend to scoop up everything that's available. Once you're saying like, hey, we hit walls, there's people that are just too cold or not aware of us or don't know who we are that we're getting one click on, and that's it. We've already instilled YouTube and Meta remarketing from those singular clicks. They still don't want to buy from us. So how do we proactively go after the people that are not searching, that have not heard about us and are just disengaged? That is where you do the proactive portion of it.
Got it. And you're still an advocate of TV ads. for YouTube?
I'm an advocate of everything you can run, you should run all at once. Honestly, if you have the budget and if you're that growth minded, hop in everywhere. They will all blend together, and then you can figure out inefficiencies. The cheaper way to do it, the slower way, is to launch one, max it out, launch another one, compare, launch a third one, and see how the lift is. Exactly.
Yeah. But you need that master command control like inside Wicked Reports in order for that to really work.
Yeah, and you see how detailed this shit is. Just pausing ads took me like a week of like, here's what I'm gonna do, and then let's test it. Now multiply that by 10 channels.
Yeah,
yeah,
it's a lot. It's a lot. All right, well, let's get to thanks, Hunter, for your question there, and he's taking the live sessions. Appreciate that, buddy. Larry says, besides Google Ads sales and leads campaigns, can another Google campaign objective be used for demand generation? Can it work similar to L1, L2, L3 used in Facebook?
Yeah, YouTube for sure. I don't like demand gen. Displays junk. The discovery is it's just kind of like I'm there. YouTube specifically. The ad sales and leads campaigns. I'm guessing when you're saying Google ad sales and leads campaign, Google campaign objective. Oh, I see what you're saying. Then I see what you're saying. You're actually talking about the objective, than the sales and leads. So yes, you can use the brand awareness that goes on target CPM and target CPV, or manual CPV, target CPM. Those two can work. Here's my asterisks to that. If you're not going to use conversion-based campaigns like sales and lead campaigns,
right? That's what he's talking about here. He's talking about conversion campaigns. Got it.
I missed it.
Yeah. I didn't quite get it either because I'm getting it now. Go ahead.
I'm slow. When I get there, I get there.
you're there, man.
So you can use it still has to be YouTube, in my opinion, if you're looking at proactive. Don't use like manual CPV on or CPC on displays. Just too much bot traffic. Proactive campaigns, yes, on YouTube. YouTube, you can use sequencing campaigns and frequency campaigns. They are the most expensive and are reserved for bigger budgets. If you're like, hey, I'm only gonna spend $1 to $2 grand a day, you're not gonna bypass everybody that wants to buy something from you into the people that have never heard about you yet. You're like full funnel for 100 grand or for 1K. Never going to happen. Right. When we're running our frequency campaigns and our sequencing campaigns for that other client, which I cannot be named, we start at like 30K a day. Now we hired a very famous person, well-known, that kind of perfect person to do it. It's like getting Tony Robbins for my new book. Like it was great. So we're like, okay, yes, this will work. And we have the supportive data to say these people at this time of day, in this region, with this interest, with this affinity, with this household income, with this age, with this sex, with this, everything was ready to be like $50,000 go, because we have done everything. If you're like going to test it on your conversion base. Once that's tested, then you can switch over to, I don't care if you want to know about me or not. I will beat you to death and I have the cash to do so. That's where you work into the upper levels of those.
Got it. Makes sense. All right.
And 1, 2, 3 will work. Yes. But it's
1, 2, 3.
It's very expensive at each level.
Got it. Makes sense. All right. Hey, John, first of all, I love you.
I love you too.
He's remaining first name nameless, but
I like how it's first name nameless and a mask. It could be a future stalker. It's cool.
Yeah, I did tell someone once. I said if I weren't already married, I would propose to John Moran. But anyway, that's a whole other thing. So for a new online store, what's the best campaign to run at the beginning? Is it standard shopping campaign, PMAX, or both?
Yeah, for a new store, honestly, this is going to sound really, really, really shitty. PMAX. PMAX in the beginning will capture all of the demand that it can in the beginning and share with you where it's finding. PMAX will then kill itself by over remarketing, going after existing customers, going too much display because it's starting to learn. In the first 1 to 2 weeks, PMAX is actually great. It's very effective because all the things, the reason why PMAX does not work long term, the bell curve, the reason why PMAX was the shit in the beginning is also the same reason why it killed itself. It is too powerful in capturing those conversions. It just then becomes too powerful in capturing the same traffic and this omni-channel traffic and the same people over and over again. And that's when it dies. It doesn't scale. So beginning, run PMAX. If you're shopping, like you were saying, online store, run feed only. Initially, don't use any sort of targets. Use maximize conversion value, no ROAS. Start that off for 1 or 2 weeks. Build it up, as good as you can. until you start to see your NCAC start to increase and more returning customers come back in from there, and the complete future, it is dead. Unless you have omni-channel traffic just coming in from all angles, like TV, organic, every meta, all the other good stuff. But in the beginning, for a singular campaign, run PMAX, run feed only, and then learn what is selling, and then switch those over to standard shopping campaigns.
Got it.
First 2 steps.
That's the first time I've ever heard you say use PMAX.
Yeah, well, my clients don't run PMAX, so that's the thing.
They're more mature. I mean, we're talking about a brand new store. This is something that that money might, you might not make a whole lot of sales, but you're going to gather some data there.
Yeah. Well, the reason why I said PMAX too is because if you're a brand new store and you're going to run standard shopping, it's cool, run standard shopping, then run a display remarketing, then YouTube remarketing, then meta remarketing, so that your first clicks are actually useful. But then now you're no longer a new store. You got a $10K per month budget.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. But
now, if you're running PMAX, you get kind of all of that together with the people that are pretty much most ready to buy that can never be your existing customers or your existing traffic. You're brand new.
Yeah, but at a certain point in this particular case for Al Said, a month or so.
Yeah, I wouldn't run it for longer than a month.
Okay, good, great recommendations. All right, this is the kind of stuff you only get from lives.
Caden's here. Hey, Caden. I know we said, hey, gang. It wasn't a question, so we skipped over it. But, one of my good friends.
Oh, there it is. Hey, there he is. You know what? I recognize Caden.
Well, actually, we'll go back up to Larry.
Yeah, should we go to Larry? No, Larry already asked a question. Caden's like your buddy. We'll get to both of them. We'll get to both. We got a couple minutes left here. All right. So Caden asks if you use the same idea to scale YouTube creatives. I'm not sure which part he's asking, but
he asked it when we were looking at all of the because that time was 2:57, so that was about 30 minutes ago. That's when we were inside of Wicked. So
got it.
Yes. But the bad part of it is, and we've done this with other tools, Caden, that you're using right now from other companies, and you know who I'm talking about. We name them by name. And it's a good one. We like it. The cloud people. So you can. The problem is the clicks are 1/10 of the effectiveness. So it's, for me, I never could say, well, if 10 people saw that YouTube ad and another 10 people saw the YouTube ad, but 2 people clicked, I got a pool of 20 where 14 may have loved it, but only 2 of those people clicked. I don't know if that's enough data to say how effective is the other 14 people that loved it. So I usually will look at YouTube in a different sense. Is if I get clicks, you can benchmark them. You can, but your level of spend is going to be much more effective on YouTube than any other channel from what you can share with the clicks. So it's a even heavier extrapolated, but also a much wider range of error. So it's like if you said, hey, who's going to win the presidency, and you talk to 2 people, you got a 100% error rate. But if you that's the 2 clicks that came in from the 100 views.
Right.
So that's the feedback that I would say. So yes, but if it is really good click-through rates and you have a high amount of activity, then yes, for sure.
At least it's directional, though.
Exactly. It's directional. It's just your margin of error with those few clicks for how much money you got to spend and how many people you got to impress. This does not represent that. The clicks do not represent the actual impact. Not correlated enough to say all right, that's the ad, dump the money.
Right. Not a question here, but just something that popped into my head. I always call it a UPC code, but it's a QR code. How much have you done with YouTube? On Roku TV, I see it all the time when I turn on my YouTube, and you got the QR code. How much have you tested that?
A lot. And I have campaigns that have been running for 2 years, delivering very high quality, very expensive, 10x return, high quality leads that will engage in that QR code 0.01% of the time. No engagement.
No engagement, but it works.
It works. I'll get for every 10,000 views I get or 20,000 views I get, I'll probably get 1 or 2 QR code scans. And even, we even have some pretty good call to actions. The best one I saw was with a pet company that you and I know about very well. Mm-hmm. We did that on some QR codes that were discounts and $50 off and 50% off. A little bit more clicks, but a little bit more scans. But it was hey, we spent $500. How many scans we get? It's 12. We're
12.
Yeah.
See, because I watch most of my YouTube. I don't watch on my phone. I actually watch it on my TV. So I'm always curious because every now and then I'll I mean, I'm inundated by internet marketing ads. Like everybody's using them, but I was very curious about that one. All right. Thanks for the question there, Caden. We've got time for a couple more here. Soren just seems to love you. Welcome back, John. All right. Thank you, Soren. And Larry's got another. You want to get Larry's question? Feedback.
Quick. I got a call starting now, so I'm going to blast through these two if we can. Anybody that comes in afterwards with questions? So sorry, cannot take any more. Here's
got a hard stop.
Feedback to boost return on investment for the situation. Single product standard shopping. March, monster grade. July was really bad. August 1st, set T ROAS to 100 negated, but all great terms raised budget. Feedback for this situation. July really bad, set negated. Yes, I would say that without going into a high level of detail. Like there's no other attribution, you know, that kind of stuff. I would say compare year over year. Is July typically bad? Like, is that summertime for your winter coat? I'm just kidding. But you know, that's what I mean. Like check those type of things year over year, because you might be on track, but it might see a big dip month over month. I would just check there just first. But other than that, yeah, that sounds like the first step. Absolutely.
Right.
Last thing I would say is check July compared to June and look at all of your products and compare your clicks. Did all of a sudden clicks on your good items go down 80% and your bad items go up 50%? Like check to see that if you didn't just have a shopping campaign. Well, it's a singular product, right?
See, it seemed like it. Yeah.
Single product. Oh yeah. No, then you're good. You're good.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'm going too fast. What would you do if you didn't have any access to attribution softwares with in-app metrics fail? Would you look at GA4? So I haven't actually used in-app metrics. I've always done just like good marketing with solid tactics and measure MER. And I just was gifted by all these cool companies, especially Wicked, which is like, here's why you're right. I'm like, oh, yes.
Yeah.
So I got really good at being a good marketer. Like, you know, how much impressions does it take to get a demand? You know, if you're overspending on ROAS only, but the company's failing, you got to figure something else out. Yeah. So I kind of school of hard knocks this, but now that we have it, I would not I would not do it without them. It's just like purposely trying to close your eyes while you're driving down the highway. Like you have eyes.
Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah, you need them, but it does cost money to have those eyes. So it's not free, which is the hard part about it. So anyway, all right, we are at time here. Thanks for going over. Sorry for all the folks that asked questions that we couldn't get to. We will be back next Friday, as far as I know, same time, same channel, with John Moran on Tier 11 Live. So thank you for everyone participating, and we will see you next week.
Bye-bye.
See ya.